Yeah, so that's Louise Quinn last night. Ciara Mageean is with us. You were at the game the other night.
I was. It was fantastic. It's actually my first FAI game, and it was brilliant. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Plenty of drama. It's good to go 2-0 up. Everybody gets calm, then introduce a little bit of chaos, jeopardy to the evening. Yes,
the girls certainly provided me with entertainment that day, much to their dismay, I'm sure, because they were 2 soft goals, but they had 2 fantastic goals of their own, and look, it showed testament to their grit and their determination, because they came back and they kept their head, and that's a very big lesson for anybody in sport.
How's your jet lag?
Oh, it's good. I'm actually flying. I've been up since 6 o'clock. I got tested this morning. If anybody wants to see my wee say no to doping plaster.
That's how they give you that after they drug test you.
Well, I'm very lucky because my testers today was like, I keep this sticker for special people, so I'm feeling really chuffed, because usually you just get a plain one. But yeah, I've been up since 6, so I'm feeling right as rain.
Did they wake you at 6 this morning? Is that how that works?
Yes, they ring the doorbell, and I rush down the stairs trying
to make sure you're not one of the
they
misses the door.
Ring it again, because I'm not even in my own house. I'm here in my boyfriend's house, so his whole house is like, who the hell is ringing at 6 in the morning? So if the doorbell goes in the early hours, I know it's for me.
Is it so that when the doorbell goes at 6 in the morning, you're like, oh, I'm getting tested again?
Yeah, because nobody else comes to our door at 6 a.m. So, or else it's the police, and I hope everybody's okay. So no, yeah, I know that it's the testers and it's for me, so up I get. But I'm delighted to be tested. It's an important thing, and
especially in the wake of what's just happened.
Yeah, it's been an interesting championships for athletics with all of the stuff around Salazar, and it took away a little bit, I think, from the championships itself, which was a little disappointing. But as a clean athlete, I'm happy whenever sanctions are brought into place to people who are clearly cheating the rules and really bringing our whole sport into disrepute and casting a shadow over athletics as a whole. So yeah, it's an important thing, and I'm happy that USADA have conducted that investigation and sanctioned a ban.
Yeah, because like the noise around athletics and the noise around the Nike Oregon project is something that, you can't talk about that much until something actually happens, and then it's like, oh, it turns out Salazar's now been done for 4 years because of doping violations, and it casts a massive shadow over anybody who's been associated with that project for such a long period of time, and over the company who has bankrolled Salazar for such a long time, which is like the most important company in athletics in many ways, or one of them. So your whole sport ends up feeling a bit damaged and feeling a bit bruised and a bit tender about the whole thing.
Definitely, and it's something that you feel personally. Whenever you're out there racing the championships, I want to step off the track and my interviews to be about my performance, not about somebody else's performance necessarily, or whatever negative things they've done to get that attention. So it's tough. Nike are a huge player in athletics, and people could say they control an awful lot of aspects of our sport. It's very disappointing to see a coach being banned, and it is tough out there. I know a few athletes made statements and broad statements about the Oregon project. I know some of the athletes that are in the Oregon project, absolutely lovely people, but as an athlete myself, I make sure that all the associations I make are with people that I want to be associated with. It is very hard as an athlete, and my reputation is my own, and I don't want it to be tainted by an association with anybody else. So that's the tough thing, and it's up to those athletes. One of the lasting things, and it's an interesting thing because I've heard this conversation from other people, and it made me think that's actually pretty true, that a lot of the athletes came off and they said they're very angry about what happened with Salazar, but they weren't angry at Salazar. If that was my coach, I would be absolutely distraught that they had cast a shadow over me as an athlete, because everything I do is to represent my country with pride, to represent my family with pride, and to know that I'm a clean athlete. So if somebody brings your reputation into the clouded area of doped sport, that's a tough thing. So I think people need to be angry at Salazar, and if somebody's willing to murk the waters, then it is good that they're challenged.
Okay, I just want to play you some audio. You've got earphones on.
I do.
Stick them in for me there. Yeah. So this is in the aftermath of Sifan Hassan speaking to the BBC after her win in the 1500. Have a listen.
Mm-hmm. It was a very hard week for me, and I was just so angry, and I couldn't talk to anyone. I just ran all out, and I just wanted people so that hard work can beat everything, can be better than everything.
When you say you were so angry and upset, is it because of what happened with your coach? Is that what made you so angry to run that time?
Yeah, it's like that's what makes me angry. I have been clean all my life. I work hard. I'm actually not an emotional person, but it makes me so mad when people. I have been in top almost 5 months. How can I do the things that so hard and you can't see my body. You can't see how I always constant. I've been so good athlete since 2014. Now people just start talking all. I'm sorry for my language.
Okay. She doesn't seem angry at Salazar.
No, and that's something that I personally feel, and it's not a thought that I came up all of my own, because it's been interesting. There's clearly been a lot of discussion about this in media, and these are discussions that need to happen. I'm happy to discuss about clean sport and about instances where people are banned. But stepping off the track and saying that you're angry because your coach was caught for manipulating the sport, manipulating testing, for putting athletes' health at risk and putting our sport in complete disrepute is it's frustrating as an athlete, because if I ever thought that a coach of mine was associated with something that I don't want to be associated, I would distance myself from that setup as far as I possibly could.
Because you're responsible for that. You're a sole trader when it comes down to it. You're the one who gets the glory. You're the one who puts in all the hard work.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's you alone in that race.
Yeah, it's all up to me, and it is hard, because then you have aspects like that. I can only put my own hat on my own head. I don't know who is clean or not clean in any sport, but whenever somebody's casting that doubt, it takes away from the clean performances as well. That championship had some absolutely amazing performances. That women's 1500 was the fastest 1500 really in history. Like, my time would have won 7 out of the past 8 world championships. Like, the girl who came 4th ran 3:54. I watched her cool down on the indoor track with tears in her eyes. She ran 3:54 and she came 4th at a world champs. Now, there's performances at that championship that I am absolutely in awe of, because I believe that those athletes have done it and that they deserve the credit for the hard work that they've put in. Then whenever you have athletes who have questions and doubts over their head, they ruin that for the rest of us and the fantastic performances that we've had. So it is tough. I have we've had the discussions, and
yeah. See, and you had the discussions with who? With other athletes, and about what you're going to do about it.
Discussions that you just are in shock that like, this is the sport that we compete in and we try our best in, and every time I step out there, I want to do the best that I can possibly do. And I train my whole life. I work my backside off to dedicate my life's work to athletics, and it is so infuriating for us that people are still out there manipulating it. And these are often discussions that you have in athletics among athletes. You'll see a performance and you go, I came off the track and didn't know what time she had ran until I met Cathal Dennehy, and he was like, what did you think of Hassan's performance? And I knew she won, and he's like 3:51, and I just went, what? 3:51? That's fast. Like, I walked to my coach, and having ran a PB to come top 10 in a world championships, I would have taken his hand off to be offered that at the beginning of the year. And I came away with, like, I was like, Steve, what can I do? Because my dream is to win world-class medals for Ireland. And I know that I can run sub 4 minutes. I know that I can get into the realms of, I don't know, let's dream 3:55. But I do know that I'm not run 3:51. That's not a realistic goal for me. Now, can humans do that? Who knows? But with those questions over, we can't even appreciate fully what a clean human being can do.
Yeah, like, from your perspective, right, that can go one of two ways. Like, you can be completely depressed and sit in a darkened room for months and months and go, this is the reality of the situation I'm in. Or you can do what it seems you're doing, is to take the fight out there and go, look, I'm not going to accept this. Yeah. I'm going to be part of a group of athletes who actually, because previously a lot of athletes in your position would have come in and hemmed and hawed and said, well, it's disappointing and I don't really want to talk about it. That's, all I can do is step out on the track and I know I'm clean and that's it. But actually you're addressing this.
Yeah,
you're taking this fight. And I think that unless you as athletes do take that fight, the sport is screwed.
Yeah, it is, and this is something that you have so many people in athletics that are so passionate about this sport being clean, and I do believe the majority of athletes are, and this is our sport. We absolutely love it, and we want to see it excel, and we don't want it tainted by this. And yeah, like at the championships, I didn't want to discuss that. I came off after the races, and I'm not there to discuss other people. This is my performance, and I want to race it. And even now, yeah, I want to discuss my performance, but it's not an aspect that I can ignore. It's there.
I think you're
and
right
it's in
though.
our
Like,
face.
I think you're right for your own. For like in 20 years' time, when you sit back and look back at what you did, it was like you took the fight, and the fight wasn't just for yourself to run your best time, but your fight was to run in a fair race.
Yeah.
And that's the legacy that you'll have if you stand up and say these things
Speak
now.
for it. Yeah, and I'm very proud to be an athlete, a clean athlete, a tested athlete. I thank the testers every time they come to my house. That's why they give me a special sticker. But like, yeah, they're doing me a great service by testing me, and I do believe that these investigations need to keep happening, because testing can only catch so many.
Yeah.
But then that's the hard thing too. Like, I look at athletics, and we get, and rightly so, the attention is there, and we get a hard time. People are often like, oh, sure, they're all on it, and we're not. There's so many clean athletes out there, and I have teammates that I see doing all of the work, and I believe that all of us are clean. Other sports test positively, and they're probably not branded the same way as my sport, and that's tough for me too. Like, I look at sports that make so much more money than athletics. It's not an affluent sport. You look at soccer and rugby and how much money goes into those sports, and you tell me that they're not dirty also.
Yeah, no, they are. They're filthy.
Yeah,
they're
and
absolutely filthy.
Yeah, it's not as much in the media. So I think it's something across the board of sport that needs to be addressed, and I'm very grateful to those people that are starting to address it.
Yeah, soccer basically has turned a blind eye to testing for years, and rugby had a minor little conversation about it in the build-up to the World Cup when a member of the South African squad tested positive. The emerging young player of the year last year tested positive, like very, very high profile.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappeared as a story now as the World Cup
I
has
didn't
gone
hear
on,
much about that.
because the players, because the tournament has kicked off. Let's talk about your performance then, because
Please.
a top 10 in the world. You said you would have bitten your coach's hand off at the start of the year. How do you feel now about it? What's the?
Do you know what? I'm absolutely delighted. I came into this season with the aim of making a world final. I made it. I excelled where I was placed to come. I think I was ranked 14th. But I'm not going to say I'm content. I'm still I'm a little disappointed in the sense that I was like, oh, there's a big gap there between 1st and 10th. I'm going to say between even 4th and 10th. That's where I want to be running. I want to get myself down there in my career, and I believe that there's not going to be another 1500 that's ran that fast at a championship ever. So I know that if I can get into the realms of that sub 4, that I'm going to be a competitive athlete on a world stage, and that's where I want to be.
How do you do it?
Pretty much what I'm doing now. What I've been doing with Steve, my coach in Manchester, Team MB Manchester, has worked. I've been with him for coming on 2 years now, and the progression in my performance, I think it's visible and it's palpable. People can see even just how happy I am in the sport and how much I'm enjoying it. So it's going to be pretty much more of the same. We're going to be aiming this year. I've started doing altitude training, which for the first time in my life, whenever I joined Steve's group, and that's made huge leaps and bounds for me, and I find it very useful, and it's something that an awful lot of athletes use. It gets you such huge advantages in your blood composition. So that's going to be a major part of my prep towards Tokyo, and basically just that natural little bit of progression. I think people do get carried away and think, oh my goodness, I need to train so much harder. I'm training hard already.
Yeah.
If I train even harder, I'm at the risk of tipping over. You tread a very fine line in sport. So my coach is doing the right thing. He's planned it out meticulously, and I have complete trust in him.
You ran 4 minutes 0.15, which is a personal best, right?
Yeah.
And Sonia Solo's record is 3:58. Mm-hmm. How do you get there?
Just exactly what I said. Everything that I've been doing, I keep doing it, because I know that this season there was a sub 4 performance there. I ran 4.015, so like literally 0.15 of a second off sub 4, and that's a huge life ambition for pretty much every 1500 meter runner. And I ran that after having run 2 races previously.
Yeah.
So I know that it's there, and if you put me into a perfectly timed race, I probably could have went and done that, and I believe that I'm capable of running an Irish record, and hopefully it's there in my future.
We're sitting here at the 10th of October. The Olympics are obviously next summer. So do you work back from that to try and make sure, I mean, obviously you do, to make sure you peak for that. But like in the meantime, are there a couple of other peaks that you can get to make sure that you feel like
you're all set?
Yeah, how does that work?
Definitely. So it's not even a case of me planning it now. This has been planned for the past 2 years since I joined the team with Steve. Everything's been planned in the lead up to the Olympic Games. Whenever I joined Steve, I had Commonwealth Games in March and I ran 2 4:07s back to back, and that was a good performance for me. Now I'm going out in a championship and running 4:01. The semi-final was slow, but it was tactical, and then a 4 flat. And I know that I'm capable of doing the same again. So we have a few little plans over the next year. It's less than a year to the Olympics. It seems so strange. I've only stopped my season and the Olympic Games are in about 9 months.
Yeah.
So my plans are going to consist of training blocks. We're going to go to probably America in the early part of the year for the guts of a month. I'll do some indoor racing. World Indoors are actually in China this year, and it's probably a toss-up. A lot of athletes are going to have to decide if they're going to or not going to go to China. It's probably likely that I won't go, but it's something I have to discuss with my coach. So I'll have a bit of an indoor season.
Why would you not go? What's in the...
It's so close to the Olympics. 2 trips to Asia would be a lot, and I just need to focus on my training. I'm lucky enough to be in the position that I have my qualification standard already. I've run it 3 times, so I'm feeling very happy because the standard's a lot harder this year. So I have that confirmed, and ultimately you don't get selected for the Irish team until, I'm not sure what the cut-off date is, but it's much later in the year. It's only a couple of months, maybe 2 months even, before the games, a month before the games. So you don't know if you're on the team, but getting my A standard pretty much stamps that and books me my ticket. So I'm able to just focus on being in that best physical shape and peaking at the right time. So yeah, everything's going to be geared up to specific races to get me race fit and ready, and specific training kind of venues. I'm going to be up at altitude a lot next year. I find it so useful, and I think we've really started to nail it.
So how many times do you want to run full out between now and the actual start of the Olympic Games? Is there a set number?
No, there's not a set number, and I'll have specific races to help build me up. And you often have maybe a few little races. Like I'm living in Manchester, so I'd run a few BMCs to be a little dustbuster at the start of the season. And then as you start going, you want to get tuned and sharp. It's much like any other sport. People have to get their eye on the ball whenever they're playing camogie, hurling, soccer, rugby. You have to be that sharpness, and racing gets you that. But I find that what's probably worked well for me is having a couple of races just to get my head back in, get that focus back ready and practice your tactics, and then coming away and doing a nice training block. I seem to do much better off a training block and dropping in, so that'll probably be my plan. But flat out races, you never know. I'll always want to go out and give myself a good bash and see where I am at physically, but hopefully those flat out races will come in Tokyo.
Could you break 4 minutes in training? Is that ever possible, or is it only ever in races that you would do it?
I don't do a 1500 metres flat out ever in training. If I do a time trial, which is ultimately whenever we'd have a little tester in training, it's never at the full distance of my race. It could be a K, it could be 1200. It depends on what my coach is wanting from that specific session. So I very rarely ever run something like that. But whenever I train broken up 1500s. There's a few different principles when it comes to athletic training, but I hit the pace that I need to hit and faster in training, so that whenever it comes to racing,
you know that you've done it.
Your body's ready. But I'm the type of athlete as well that steps up on race day. I think every coach that I've ever had has said you race much better than you train.
Yeah.
And
must be infuriating for the coaches. Like, if only I knew this.
No, I think my coaches have a lot of faith. They know what work that I do and the shape that it shows. And I think whenever I put this vest on, it gives me a special superpower. And it's something that I'm very happy that I can go out and I can race championships. And it seems to be the time that I basically get the best out of myself.
When was the first time you put that on?
My first Irish Fest would have been schools cross country championships in Stowe, a SIAB schools cross country championships, and I think I was 15 or 16, 15 probably. So that was my first ever Irish Fest, and a very proud moment.
Did it have an impact on you straight away? Did you kind of go, ooh?
Yeah, I only started athletics quite late in my life compared to some other people. It wasn't until I was in secondary school that one of my teachers was like, do you want to give cross country a lash? I had done 2 little races in primary school, but nothing special. And I went out and I wasn't the best, but slowly started to to churn up, having some good results. And then joined a coach in Belfast, Eamon Christie, and really it all spiralled from there. Once I got to step foot in the track, I think people realised that there was something there. I was always good at running.
Yeah.
Wasn't as talented over the cross as I am on the track. So got on there and they realised, oh my goodness, this wee girl can run.
And then the racing obviously is something that you clearly just really enjoyed. And is it the adrenaline of the race? Is it the...
Yeah, to be honest, I've just always loved sport, any type of sport. I loved sports day whenever I was in primary school. I lived for it. I absolutely love PE and really any sort of competition. I was a pretty aggressive kid. Had to be told a few times to tone it down. I can distinctly remember an assumption, my PE teacher telling me that this is not the Olympic Games, Ciara.
You're like, don't worry, I'm going to get there.
Yeah, so the irony of that is quite funny. But yeah, I've learned to have to hone in that competitive nature and the sheer aggression that often came out quite angry. Hopefully that doesn't show as much anymore. I have a bit more of a smile on my face. But yeah, I just love that rush. I get super nervous. I'm not going to say I love race day. Like, there's other days I definitely love more, but you can't beat race day whenever you cross that line and you realise that you've given your all out there.
Yeah, when you talked about bulking after the race, that wasn't nerves, that was physical exertion, or was that a mixture of both?
No, that's physical exertion. I have zero nerves after the race. It's only before that I feel nervous. So for me, it's really my body. I've brought my body to the complete edge, and the only thing it knows what to do is maybe to go and throw up. I'm just at a loss. I try to avoid it, and I think, I'm not sure, there might be sports physiologists out there that'll tell me I'm wrong. I think whenever I run so hard, I build up a lot of lactate, and then it just responds with my tummy being churned up and not comfortable, because whenever I get to jog straight after and get that buffering to start happening, I don't throw up.
Yeah, so it's grand again. What do you do with the nerves? Like, how do you get rid of them? Or do you actually, is there a part of you that goes, okay, this is a big race, I feel the nerves, and that's a good thing? Have you?
Definitely, I can't get rid of the nerves, and I wish that I could get rid of some of the aspects of it, but I'm always happy to have them. It shows me that it means an awful lot to me, and any races that I've went into and not felt nervous, I haven't performed as well. So it shows me that my body's adrenalised and ready. And for me, it's really the transition and the change of my mindset towards those nerves. In the past, I found them crippling.
Right.
I didn't enjoy it. I could nearly feel close to tears before a race, whereas now I embrace that feeling. I don't overly like that sympathetic nervous system impact where I feel physically sick and I'm shaking.
Pre-race.
Like pre-race, yeah. I'll be joking with my coach and he'd be like, "Are you nervous?" I'll be yawning a lot.
Yeah.
Which you don't want to be yawning as you're getting in, but I know that it's just a nervous thing. I used to yawn in exams in university and school, and I'll be just shaking, just parts of my legs shaking. Just this whole. I suppose you look at an animal who's getting ready to pounce. To have little twitches and they're ready, and I tell myself, no, this is my body getting ready. It's a good thing, and that mental switch is something that I've worked really closely with my coach and my sports psychologist Kate Kirby with, to address that and say this is a good thing and to identify it as positive.
Roy Keane said that the week of big games he would get a pain in his side and like old injuries, even though he hadn't been training. Like there was no physical thing that had happened, but like before the big Arsenal games, before a big Champions League game, his body would just be sore during the week beforehand. And he was like, what's this? Like, oh, big game coming at the weekend.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
The mind playing tricks on you, and you would be in me as the number of athletes I have teammates who suddenly develop a stress fracture in the lead up to a major marathon or something. You're like, we all laugh, and he'll know who he is if he ever hears this. We laugh, we're like, there's nothing wrong with you, you're ready. Your mind, I do feel like your mind starts playing tricks on you. You're like, oh, I feel a wee bit like rough there. And I think it wants to protect itself from the sheer carnage that's going to come, but I relish it.
That's obviously experience that you've learned over the last, how long, last 3-4 years, last 2 years, last 18 months even to get better at that?
I'd say like the learning curve has been the whole time I've been in athletics, which is over 10 years now, but really since I've got a grasp of it, I'd say it's been over the past 2 years of me fully starting to address it and being able to control it.
Yeah. Is this all since you moved to Manchester? Is that all part of that whole...
Yeah, I moved to Manchester and was also working with Kate before that, so I had already started trying to address it, but Steve has a really good approach when it comes to our mental state going into races, and it's something that we discuss, and he's really found really good coping mechanisms for me going into it. He identified that I was absolutely hating race day. The first race I ever raced with Steve was World Championship indoors, and the contrast between Ciara Mageean then and Ciara Mageean now is you wouldn't think they're the same person, and Steve says that himself, and he's like, I learned so much from that race, watching you race that indoors and performing subpar and pretty badly and being very disappointed. He's like, you were white as a ghost before the race. You were nervous. You didn't have confidence in yourself. Whereas the Ciara Mageean now is nervous, 100% nervous. I'm so prepped and ready, but I have confidence that I'm in the best shape that I can be, and I believe in myself, and there's a huge difference there.
Yeah, is that just because you've done the work now? Is that you can look back and go, you're still the same person, but actually this person here has looked at all of the things you can control, and you've done all that stuff.
It's definitely, and it's as simple as the fact that I write it down on paper and I discuss it, and I know that it's not a bad thing to discuss your fears. And Steve's like, how are you feeling? Steve's a big believer in the chimp paradox, if anybody knows that kind of principle towards your mental state, and that there's a little chimp in your head that likes to come out and create havoc, and I have to control that chimp. So Steve often uses that as an example. But for me, my chimp responds very well to writing a plan. So everything that I do is all planned. People would probably actually love to see it. I have a diary that every single race day is written down from the moment I wake up. That race day is completely planned out. It includes breakfast, it includes naps, it includes the very last snack that I'll have. Everything's written down to the caffeine that I'll have before the race, and my recovery, because post-race is important too. And then what I'll also have is race scenarios and what's going to happen and what I'll do in those scenarios. And I write it in paper so that whenever it does happen in the race, it might not happen exactly like I thought it would. But
you've got something to fall back on.
But I've prepared, and that chimp knows that there's a plan.
Yeah.
And ultimately the plan is usually the same. We all have the same mechanism to get to the end of the race. So it's that reassurance that I know, I have this, it's under control, I've wrote it all down. And for me, that was such a huge part, and I think it's important for people to find what works for them, because other people might not respond as well from putting it on paper. It's something that works really for me, and I laugh. Like, I'll send Steve a picture of it. He wants it right before, a couple of days before the race, and the last one is always usually something that I know will make him laugh. So my last one finished with, "You are the fighting Irish and you'll fight until the end." So I like to laugh at myself, but things like that give me strength, and yeah, I think that's really helped me with my mental health.
It's been an amazing year. What is actually next for you? The season's over properly? So
yeah, I'm on a wee break.
Yeah.
Delighted.
Are you going mad?
Oh, Jesus, mad. Yeah, I'm having sweets, crisps. I had 2 Canhams in a row. My boyfriend told me I'm not allowed any more takeouts, but I don't care. Yeah, I have a couple of days off, so I finished racing on Saturday, and I did a jog yesterday because my body was just feeling in bits. I was
yeah.
Whenever I was chatting to some of the lads, they're like, yes, that movement is a form of medication. And after 4 days, and my coach didn't tell me to run, but he was like, whenever you feel like it, just get out for a trot.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. Went for a run through Bushy Park. I don't usually get to stop mid-run, so I was just running, stopped, had a wee look at the birds, look at the trees. I absolutely love nature. I saw a lovely wee yellow wagtail down in Bushy Park, sat and watched it for a while. And that's stuff that I often miss whenever I'm training hard, because you just are always in the zone and you're running fast. So yeah, I'm back running, but I'll enjoy the next 2 weeks. I'm going to stay at home. I've got so many homes. Home is Manchester, where my car's parked.
Yeah.
Home is Dublin, where my boyfriend is, and home is Portaferry, where mummy and daddy and my dogs and my cat are. So I'll be going home to Portaferry soon, and I really look forward to that.
And then back to work at some point?
Back to work. Well, my life has always worked, so this is probably the only time that I completely let my hair down, and I'm not going to bed as early as I should, and I'm eating a little bit of everything. I do have a really healthy approach to my diet throughout the year. I'm not the type of person that won't have a treat. I believe that I need to have a wee treat, and I work hard enough for it. But I'm literally making sure I'm going to make myself sick of rubbish. So yeah. I spent 20 quid in SuperValu on sweets. So it's a bit of a joke. Don't let I'm loose with my credit card. I have to remind myself I'm a 27-year-old. So but yeah, I'll make the most of it, and then it's back to business. So I'll enjoy these next few weeks of being a little bit more relaxed. But I'll still be doing a little bit of jogging, a little bit of running, keep my body in check, because I'll be in bits if I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, come ultimately the end of October, that's back to business and back to the prep for Tokyo.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, listen, massive congratulations for the stuff on the track. And I think as well, like, for us who are covering the sport, we need to be able to hear people like you say the things you say, because that gives us confidence then in saying, look, we trust you because you are actually saying the things that a clean athlete would say. Because if you weren't clean and you were saying this stuff, then you'd need to be a psychopath, and you're clean enough.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I do doubt myself sometimes, but no, I'm definitely a clean athlete.
Yeah, exactly. And the sport needs you guys, I think, who are currently competing, to be as aggressive about this as you are about your your own training, because otherwise then it's hard for people to row in behind the clean athletes, because it's hard to know who they are sometimes. So.
Yeah, no, and I have to say I'm so grateful to the whole Irish public. I've been completely blown away with the response to my races and people's response to my interviews. And maybe it's nice. Maybe I should show the real Ciara a little bit more often. And they've given me the confidence as well to be able to say, look, people will like you as well if you're just yourself and you show that sheer excitement and happiness of sport. And I've been blown away, and I have to thank them so much for that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right with that. Listen, thanks a million for joining us this morning, and enjoy your 2 weeks holidays. They're very well earned.
Thanks a million.